Okay. So what what kind of aircraft is that, Jamie?
So this is the Curtis and Wright C-46 Commando. It was built in the 1940s and used during the Second World War as military transport. They transported troops, medical supplies, food. A lot of times you'll reference it as the aircraft that flew over the hump out in the east there, and so that's one of the things that was really known for. There was about 3,000 of them made for the war, and to date, there's only about 6 that are actually flying, and Buffalo has 2 of them. So there's a couple over at Everett's with our friends in Alaska, and there's one down in the city of Monroe, which is in North Carolina, and that flies as just an air show C-46. So they do demonstrations with parajumpers, and like I said, they fly to air shows, so they show what the C-46 is actually about.
Wow. And so what's Buffalo Airways? What do you guys do?
Buffalo Airways, we were most formally famous for the show Ice Pilots. There was also a show called Arctic Air, which was basically featured in our hangar. Ice Pilots, or Buffalo Airways, we are one of the North's biggest air carriers. So their fleet consists of DC-3s, C-46s, Electras, King Airs. Back in the day, we had also DC-4s, which were up and running for service. And in the summertime, we are contracted with the government to do firefighting contracts. So we also have formerly known, or sorry, we have currently, two 215s that are based in Yellowknife. And we also have air tractors, so 802 air tractors. The Electras are also used for the summer contract, as well as King Airs and Beechcraft Barons.
Awesome. So were
I,
you on the show Ice Pilots?
no, that show ended a few years ago. I started 2 years ago here, so I didn't quite make that cut.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So how'd you get into flying then? What's your journey been like?
Well, my journey is kind of all over the place. When I started off, I originally had just a flight coupon for an intro flight that lasted about 20 minutes. And I loved the flight. It's funny, I got sick, and my mom will never let me live that one down, because she said, if we walked off that plane, even though you were sick and you had a bag, you were the happiest I've ever seen you. And that just stuck with me to today. I originally started to become a pilot just to do something different. My family back home, we have a family company, and as much as I love to be in that, I wanted to do something new. And so with that, I got learning about my history, and the my great grandfather on my mother's side was actually a pilot, sorry, correction, a rear air gunner on the Lancaster bombers. And he flew those in World War II, and he actually completed one whole mission, which I believe is 36 flights. For a Lancaster crew of any sort, that was not really heard of. They were shot down quite a lot, and in fact, my great grandfather, his plane actually did get shot down, and that ended his war career. Um, but saying that, with the love that I've learned about the Lancaster, I wanted a way to get there so I could be at the front of it. And with that, I wanted, I called the museum and said, how is the best way to get to being a Lancaster pilot? I said, well, you need to get your hours. And I said, okay, well, how would I do that? They said, you want a minimum of 500 hours on a tail dragger. Well, luckily for me, I found the biggest one that Canada has to offer. So I came up here 2 years ago, and I got checked out on the DC-3 first, and then I graduated to the C-46. So that's my journey as to how I found Buffalo, um, because I want to fly the Lancaster. So I'm here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So what,
Thank you.
you just like walked in one day and just knocked and said, "Hey, I want to fly for you guys. Check me out." And they said, "You betcha," or what?
So I'm from Toronto originally, Toronto, Ontario, which is about 4,000 kilometers away from where I currently live in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. And so I sent an email to the ops manager, and I hadn't heard from him for a couple days, but I did have a friend who was working here at the time. So I sent him a message. I said, he was the one actually who I really started talking to about moving up there and what it's like. And when I talked to him, he then talked to the ops manager and said, you know what, yeah, come on up. So they always allow people to see if they're the right fit. And, you know, you do your rampy work and you do your time. And so after they saw that I was a good worker and all that, they checked me out on the DC3. So it was about a 3-month process, but it can vary from, you know, 3 months to a year. Really, it all depends on our availability and whatnot. But I got pretty lucky, I'd say. And then a couple months after that, I got checked out on the C-46.
Wow, that's incredible. And what, you're the only female who flies a C-46?
In the world at the moment, yes. Like I said, there are only 6 of them, 5 to 6 of them. So that kind of narrows it down. But I'm the only one, I believe, in Buffalo's history. Um, there might have been one other female by the name of Tony Ramsey. She flew the DC-3 for sure, but we don't know. I don't know. I've never really dug into the research of it, but I don't know if she actually did fly the C-46. But from what we think, probably yes. Not to say that women didn't ferry them in the wartime, because I'm sure they did, but unfortunately, it's kind of hard to find statistics on that
Sure.
from back date.
Wow. And so you're 23, you just march up there one day, and now here you are flying the C-46. So that seems like that takes a lot of confidence. And that's kind of part of my research project, is seeing what these women have in common as far as how they've been successful and how they've made this amazing career.
Yeah.
So where do you think your confidence comes from?
I was very competitive growing up, and I didn't like to lose. Any of my friends and family would tell you that. So I always tried my hardest. Even, you know, things can get tough, but I'd still might not be happy, but I would still definitely put my hard hat on and go for it, right? Um, you know, and as I said earlier, my goal is to fly the Lancaster, which is definitely a huge other step. You know, we're going from 2-engine to a 4-engine aircraft, and that would just be strictly for pleasure. This is for work. I mean, not saying I don't get pleasure out of flying this thing. I love flying; it is the best. But I don't know. I would just say I was always confident, and my mom always taught me that if I wanted to do something and if I put my mind to it, like, I could do it. So that would probably say where it stemmed from.
That's amazing. So what have your parents thought about your flying career and find this big beautiful bird?
They definitely miss me, of course, but they know that I'm happy with what I do. It is a lot of work, and you know, some days with any job, I guess you're gonna get frustrated and you might want to quit or, you know, just stop. But they always tell me, like, the whole reason why, like, they see, when they see pictures of me, they see I'm happy, and there's so many photos of me with that you can see the smile and the passion on my face. So they always remind me about what I'm here for and who I am, and but they've always supported me, even throughout my flying career. My mom has definitely been a huge support. She's definitely helped me out even with the move and up here, and my dad's been along for the ride as well. So it's always nice having their support and knowing that they're proud and all that.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, um, have you ever wanted to quit along the way then?
Some days, yeah. Yeah, it can get frustrating, you know, especially when you're working within, you know, duty times and restrictions of the aircraft, obviously, and sometimes you want to do something but you can't, and it gets frustrating, or sometimes you're not flying as much as you want to, and, you know, just things like that. But I've I always, every time I step foot on the plane and hear those engines crank over, and they make such a distinctive sound and they're so loud, and I can send you a couple of videos of them taking off just so you can actually hear what it sounds like. It makes me happy again. It's like, okay, yeah, we're good. Definitely.
So yeah, my next question is usually, so what do you do when you feel like quitting? But I think you just answered it. You just listen to the roar of your engines.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, a lot of people say, like, your planes talk to you, and I definitely say the C-46s do. Like, they'll tell you if they want to fly, and they will definitely tell you if they don't want to fly. And, you know, sometimes you got to respect it even though you don't want to. And it's obviously, we're flying within our means and their means. And but when they're going, and, you know, you're coming back from a long day and everything went really well, you're just like, yeah, okay, that's good, thank you.
So how many hours do you have in the C-46 now?
Oh, well, I my total hours are probably near 1700. Of the 46, I'm probably at around 1300.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's the majority of your time.
Yeah. Yeah, I had about 420 hours when I moved up here from Toronto, and it's pretty. I have about 100 hours on DC3, and the rest is C-46.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. So, so one of the questions I always ask the female pilots as well is, do you have any tips or tricks or mantras or positive slogans or sayings that you say when you get nervous, scared, anxious? Do you sing when you fly, whistle, anything like that?
That's a good question. Sometimes I find I try to find the rhythm of the engine, especially being radials, you can really feel it. And, sometimes, I don't know, actually, that's a really hard question, but I do sometimes try to zone in or pace into how the engine is feeling. Because then it's once you get it, perfect, trimmed and your props are lined up and they're synced and they sound nice, that just usually puts you, especially I find like for flight tests and stuff like that or PPC rides, um, that's especially a high, high nervous or high anxious point in your day. And so with that, I just try to be as calm as I can, even though it's really hard. But like I said, back to the whole engine speaking thing, it gets to you and you're just like, okay, yeah. Or sometimes I'll sing a song, especially if don't ask me which one, it's whatever one pops in my mind for that day. But sometimes I'll try and hum that out, or like, slowly just tap my foot to it and kind of calm myself down if I am getting hyped up, which sometimes are, hard IFR days or just days that are challenging in general, like
Being
weather.
IFR certified?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's a typical workday like for you then?
Well, it depends. Mondays and Fridays are usually our busiest days. The C-46, I kind of didn't answer your question earlier about what Buffalo does, but we fly kind of all over the place. We do passenger runs more or less with the King Airs, the C-46 and DC-3. We do a lot of valley trips. So about 300 miles west of Yellowknife, you'll have what's called the Mackenzie Delta or the Mackenzie River. And so we do what's called a valley flight. And when you search up, or if you know from ice pilots, the C-46 flies to, there's about 5 towns. We do more or less just do 4 of them right now, just because of the payloads. But we fly to Norman Wells, Toledo, Delaney, Fort Good Hope, and Covell Lake. Those are the main 5 that are a part of our valley trips. And we do that usually 1 full valley a week, and then usually 2 to 3 smaller valleys. So there we'll usually fly between Norman Wells and Delaney and back, or sometimes it'll be out to Good Hope. It all depends on the day. Like I said, the payloads more or less determine what our routing is going to be. But yeah, and the Electras, they fly pretty much wherever the 46s can't go. They obviously can take a way bigger payload than us, and they don't require avgas. Avgas is a big problem right now because it's so expensive and hard to find. So the Electra kind of goes everywhere. The DC-3 and the C-46, we're kind of restricted to where we can go, but we normally do the valleys. And then every night, from Monday to Friday, we have what's called a freighter. And one of the biggest things about Buffalo is that it's a courier company, so courier of the North. And so what we do is we drive our colleagues down south in Edmonton will drive a truck from Edmonton to a small town called Hay River, and that's just at the southest part of Great Slave Lake, and we're at the pretty much the northest. And so the truck drives up to Hay River overnight. The truck will arrive in Hay River at around 6 in the morning. From there, we will offload the truck, load the plane. So the plane would have already flown down that night. So today's Monday, for example, we had a plane fly down to Hay River at around 4 o'clock. It's going to overnight there waiting for the truck to show up. So when the truck shows up in the morning, we'll offload the truck, put it in the plane, scoot over to Yellowknife. We'll disperse them out to all the courier vans, and then we'll repeat that Tuesday evening. So, and then that goes on from Monday to Friday, like I said. So the 46 and the DC-3 will do those. And on days that we have a big amount of freight, we'll send the Electra. That usually happens once or twice a year. It's always fun to get those because it's not too many times that we do get them. But for the most part, the C-46 will be sent to do the freighters. So just because of payload.
Okay. So how many pilots are there for Buffalo Airways?
Um, On a rough ballpark, I'm going to say about 30, and that does include the summer contract as well. But for the 46, we have three co-pilots, 3 captains. The DC-3, there's 3 captains, 1 co-pilot. King Air, there's 1 co-pilot and 5 captains. The Electra, there's 4 captains and 3 co-pilots. There's probably a few that I'm missing as well. So,
Are you the only female in the bunch?
nope, the King Air co-pilot is also a female.
Oh, cool.
So
okay.
She is awesome.
So what's your support system like then?
Well, I got lots of it. I'm very friendly, and so I've made a lot of friends up here who have turned family. So that's a big chunk of it here. You know, and they're always there for me when I need them, and you know, in our off time, we're usually hanging out together and whatnot. And then my family back at home, they're always there pretty much anytime I need them. And I still have all my friends that I left in Toronto who still talk to me all the time, and we text like we're still living, you know, across the street from each other. So it's always nice to have people that I could turn to pretty much wherever I need them.
Have you had like one mentor who's really stood out and helped you along the way?
Not really. I'm kind of strong-willed in that sense as well, but you know, I've always taken pieces of advice from other people, and if I ever had questions, I could always turn to them. But I never had one person who, you know, if I constantly had a challenge, I would talk to them or seek help from them. So I'd just say a bunch of other people. You know, instead of having one, there's lots. So
perfect. I am so excited to talk to you today. I love this beautiful airplane behind you. So can we get a little walk around and check her out?
Sure. So,
and the paint job's great too, by the way. That's just
we have 2 paint jobs. Both of them are actually different from one another. So in the back we have the R2800 by Pratt & Whitney. And so this is a call sign of Charlie Golf Tango Papa Oscar, TPO. And one of the cool things about TPO, as I walk around, you'll actually see that she has art on the windows. Back in the day, they used to actually be passenger configured. So I don't have it here, but I'll send it to you tomorrow when she gets back. Avio, our other C-46, actually has the crane from Lufthansa, and you can actually track it back that she did fly for Lufthansa for a few years. So here, you'll see we got 4 characters on the window.
That's
and
awesome.
The others, I believe it's Marilyn Monroe. I don't know who the middle one is. And
like
we have Elvis.
Somebody in Elvis, yeah.
I think so that's Elvis, the second last one, and then I think that one is James Dean. I actually have no idea. I just am thinking that. So we'll keep walking around. It's 108 feet, 0.6 inches wide, 96 feet long.
Wow.
The tail at rest is 21 feet. So we'll just go on this side because the art on the other side is different.
So is this the only tail dragger you've flown then?
And the DC-3, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But no small ones like the...
No, when I was flying back in Toronto, I actually flew for a different company, and I flew a Gyps Airvan for them. And you can see it
running on this side.
Yeah. Here, we can go inside if you'd like.
Yeah.
It might be dark, so I will turn my screen brightness up. And luckily, we have the good ladder. One ladder is very higher than the other, like the bottom step. Okay, so as we walk in, I don't know what you can see. So the cargo compartment, I guess you got a pretty good view there.
Yeah.
The cargo compartment can hold pretty much up to 13,000 pounds. That'd be like a rough with minimal fuel. We'll go up to the cockpit here.
What kind of cargo do you guys normally fly?
We fly pretty much anything. When we do the valley runs, that's more or less for food and supplies. But really, whatever they kind of want to fly us with, we'll fly. They did a trip a couple weeks ago that was in a different province, and they actually were doing a move. So they were flying cabin supplies out to the different locations. So yeah, here. I don't know what you can and can't see due to the sun, but I will try and get it. There we go. There you go.
There we go.
And that's it.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah, and it's quite the view out too. Like, it's a lot of people think it's so high, and it is hard to, see, but it's really not that bad, especially once you get the nose down and the tail up, like for takeoff, and you're just going along.
Yeah.
So here I can open up my window. You can see what's going on this side. And so that's what, if you were to look out the window in the back, that's what you would see. Do the same on this side, except that.
So how much runway does she need to take off?
We have our charts and graphs, so obviously depending on what the conditions are like outside, it changes, but these aircraft were meant to take off and land in short strips. So the lowest number that it would take to actually take off is 2,800 feet.
Wow.
As per the chart. It will take off much lower than that, obviously, but on paper, that's what it shows. And to land, the lowest is 1,600 feet. But obviously, like taking off, it can take much longer space than that.
Wow.
Okay, now we'll head down.
What a great airplane.
It's definitely cool, and one of the things I like about it the most is that it's very unique. A lot of people, was to show up at some small random airport, a lot of people would look at it being like, wow, what's that? Like, something you don't see every day, right? And especially in this day and age with all the modern turbo this, turbo that, obviously nothing against them, but it's just cool to see something that has survived throughout the years, really, because it's 74 years old.
Yeah.
So it's older than a lot of people's grandparents. And for that, I'm really thankful, because I think it's the coolest thing.
It is. It totally is. I think that you are the coolest thing flying that. And I am so impressed and amazed. And
thank you.
Yeah, I just, I've been in aviation for 20 years, and I'm still finding out these incredible women who are doing these things that I didn't even know existed. Like, I've never seen ice pilots. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. So.
It is available on Amazon, season 1
to 6. I will be watching that tonight. Awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
Perfect. I'm gonna stop. There we go.